Hello, Steve Persch here, Director of Technical Marketing at Pantheon. We're standing here at John Jay College at Decoupled Days 2022. It's exciting to be back in person for conferences. I'm standing here with Chris LaRoque, a solutions engineer at Gatsby. Chris, I imagine that for an event like this is the prime spot for Gatsby. What kind of conversations are you excited to be having here with this community of people who are really focused on a very similar problem space to the one Gatsby addresses?
Totally. Yeah, so we actually are coming off somewhat recently going to DrupalCon 2022 as well. So we've gotten a lot of eyes on how folks are decoupling Drupal, how they're using that with Gatsby. And I think honestly some of my favorite conversations are folks that have never even heard of Gatsby coming up and getting to explain to them why we think we are the superior JavaScript framework for front ends.
And if you would be so bold, what makes Gatsby the superior JavaScript framework for front ends?
Sure. Yeah, so I think most often what I tell folks is that Gatsby, first and foremost, is purpose-built for websites, right? So if you're building a website, and more importantly, if you're building a website where you care about front-end performance, Gatsby is going to get you furthest, fastest with your website. Obviously it allows you to use React as a main tool set for building your website, which is a very popular framework these days. But I think whenever folks are making that comparison between frameworks, we really harp on, if you're building a website, Gatsby's the tool set for it, for sure.
Sure, and in your role as solutions engineer, I imagine you're talking with complex customers with complex problems. Where's one of the points that people are getting stuck where you and your role are able to get them unstuck?
Totally, yeah. So a lot of what I do is, one, either taking folks in a more traditional, quote-unquote, monolith setup, like a full Drupal front end or WordPress front end, kind of showing them how to decouple Drupal with that and get a React Gatsby front end set up for it. And another part of that is migrating Gatsby versions sometimes. Sometimes folks are just behind. They want to get caught up so they can use our somewhat new build and hosting tool, Gatsby Cloud, to build and host their website. So part of my job is also that, being able to upgrade people to a major Gatsby version and show them kind of the latest and greatest on Gatsby Cloud.
And Gatsby version 4 is the latest one, yes?
Correct. I don't think it's been announced yet, but we are working on 5, and 5 is in process to hopefully be announced and released this year, but 4 is latest.
And for people who tried out Gatsby in the 1, 2, or 3 days, what should they look for in version 4 that they didn't see before?
Yeah. So a lot of our conversations with folks, we really tell them that Gatsby version 4 is almost an entirely new framework when compared to Gatsby version 2. We've made a lot of progress. One, in terms of build times, a kind of long-standing pain point with static site generators is that when you publish a change, you need to rebuild your entire site from the ground up. Gatsby has done a lot of work to incrementalize those builds, so we are able to say, only this content changed, let's only re-render this HTML. We've also done a lot of work in terms of bringing dynamic content into your website stack, right? So Gatsby traditionally was purely static site generation, but with Gatsby 4, we've rolled out SSR, so you can fully build a server-side rendered app like you would with any other framework. Also DSG, which is a big build time improvement. You can offload the static generation of pages. And also Gatsby Functions is pretty huge, right? You can now set up APIs that run alongside your code natively as kind of part of your website, as you would with most other frameworks in the space. So a lot of getting people caught up with parity and feature sets, but also being able to expand upon what we've done with static and make it as dynamic as possible.
Well, it sounds like there's a whole lot happening in the Gatsby space. For teams who haven't looked at Gatsby at all, what would you recommend as the first step into the Gatsby waters?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think it kind of always boils down to kind of where that person's coming from. Sometimes folks are coming from another JavaScript framework, in which case we do have some kind of good comparison starters, right? To say, like, if you're used to Next or used to Remix, this might be kind of a nice stepping off point for you. I think most people, though, getting into it fresh, I really recommend you just do npm and init Gatsby. It's like a great, it'll give you a couple prompts basically to ask you some questions about your CMS or what kind of functionality you're hoping to have in your site, and give you a really solid, minimal set of boilerplate to be able to start building Gatsby sites with.
All right, well, Chris LaRoque, solutions engineer at Gatsby, thanks so much for joining us here at Decoupled Days.